This video is a brief introduction to an experiential learning project done by Chicano Studies students at Front Range Community College, Boulder County campus in Longmont, Colorado. The Day of the Dead is celebrated in Mexico and the U.S. on November 1st and 2nd. Even though it coincides with the Catholic holiday called All Souls and All Saints Days, the indigenous people have combined this with their own ancient beliefs of honoring their deceased loved ones. It is believed that the gates of heaven open up at midnight on October 31st, and the spirits of all deceased children, Los Angelitos, are allowed to reunite with their families for 24 hours. On November 2nd, the spirits of the adults come down to enjoy the festivities that have been prepared for them at the cemeteries. The Day of the Dead is becoming popular also in the United States.
The students in the class were very similar to the students in my anthropology classes in that they really weren't separating Day of the Dead, which is Dia de los Muertos, from Halloween, that they almost saw it as a Mexican celebration of Halloween. Once they really understood that these are two separate holidays with entirely different ways of celebration, it became more clear to them why, especially with more Mexicano immigrants into the United States, it has become popular. It's also a holiday that's safe to celebrate. It isn't like maybe Mexican Independence Day, which certainly would be celebrated by Mexicans here, even including that they are loyal Americans. But it is a safe holiday because it's a religious holiday. Children can participate. It isn't scary, and it is a fun holiday to pick up the same way that we have picked up Cinco de Mayo as a very large holiday in the United States for the Chicano population and the general population, although in Mexico it's only celebrated in Puebla where the actual event took place. We didn't know a lot of us didn't know a lot about Day of the Dead before this class started. What do you know now that you didn't know about this holiday?
Well, I didn't know that it was such a Mexican celebrated holiday, and that it was to celebrate their friends and family that had passed, and they would bring things that those passed away family members enjoyed, and the food and candles, and that they would go celebrate all night long.
We studied Day of the Dead. Obviously, you know some things about it before the class started, but can you remember anything specific that you've learned in the studies that maybe you didn't know before?
Well, I'm half Mexican on my mother's side, so a lot of it I knew a little bit about, but we never really celebrated. It's easy to draw comparisons to Halloween, I've noticed in the past, but looking at it now that we've studied and gone over it, I realize that it's a lot less about dressing up and having fun and more about honoring the dead and those that we love that we've lost.
We did a project that showed what people knew about Day of the Dead when the class started. What have you learned in addition to that?
I've learned that it's a pretty big holiday, especially in Puebla, Mexico, and that they go all out bringing foods and stuff to honor the people that have passed away, and they stay up all night in the graveyards and make them really beautiful.
So what did your students know about Day of the Dead?
Actually, not nearly as much as I thought they did. I had anticipated, because it's a Chicano Studies class, and out of the students we have, about 9 out of 10 have some Chicano or Mexicano heritage. But what they knew about Day of the Dead was extremely limited. It is really, as you get into it further, a holiday celebrated in Mexico, not normally celebrated in the United States. If you look historically and try to find Day of the Dead celebrations going back in the United States and the Southwest, you're lucky to come up with a little note in a church bulletin from 1920 that said Day of the Dead will be celebrated in All Souls Day in maybe New Mexico. This is a recent import due to the increase of the Mexicano population, kind of similar to the quinceañera, which also is gaining popularity.
So, tell us about this project that your students are doing.
Well, we're really excited about the project that they did. This is a Chicano Studies class at Front Range Community College in Longmont, Colorado. We had an opportunity to be one of 8 organizations to put a very large altar in the Longmont Art and Cultural Museum for an entire month for Day of the Dead. And the altar is about 3 by 5 and probably about 6 feet high. All of the students participated, and each one brought individual artifacts or individual things for some loved one or some person that's important in their life, and we put the altar together as a group. We also studied Day of the Dead, including talking about it, certain videos, DVDs, online research, and talking to people in the community who have Mexican heritage. One of the students that got to do an altar for the Day of the Dead at the Longmont Museum. It's a big deal. There's going to be 3,000 people there. Just on Saturday alone, it's been up for a month. Whom did you honor with your part of our altar, and what artifacts did you bring?
I chose to honor my great-grandma, who was my best friend. She passed away when I was 10 years old. I brought in a picture of her, and a picture of her and I, this little heart frame, and a description of her with pictures of all of her grandchildren that she's never been able to see.
I think one of the questions you asked me when we were building this is you wear your grandmother's diamond.
Yeah, I do.
And you said, should I put that there? And I go, not in a heartbeat.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, it's her engagement ring, and I plan on using it as my engagement ring whenever that day comes.
That's cool. Hi, you're one of the students that did an altar for the Day of the Dead at the Longmont Museum, and I specifically remember yours because I thought, that could have been my mom. Tell me what you chose to put in the altar and what was the significance.
I chose to do my grandmother. My father is the youngest of 14 children, 7 boys, 7 girls. So we have a big family, but our grandmother played a big part in everybody's lives, especially her grandchildren. And she really loved tabloids, so I decided to include that in her altar. And she also really loved bingo. She prayed the rosary every day, so I tried to include as much of that into her altar as I could. They were big parts of her life. So yeah, I chose to do her, and more or less I chose to do her because she's the only person that I really know well that has died in my life, and I cared about her very much, so that's my picture.
Wow, 14 children. That's a large family. And the Dead at the Longmont Museum. Whom did you choose to honor, and what artifacts did you bring?
I chose to honor my mother's father, Frank Milon. I brought in like a fishing reel, tape measure, coffee cup, and I chose him because I actually didn't get to meet him, but it's like my mom's father. He means a lot to her. She means a lot to me, so I figured it'd be a good choice to do him.
Is your mother going to have a chance to go see the altar?
No, because she's in New Jersey.
Oh,
but
okay.
I showed her pictures.
Oh, you showed her the pictures. Cool.
This is the narrative written by the students of the Chicano Studies class. This altar honors the ancestors and loved ones of the students. Each of us chose an ancestor or loved one and prepared a display for the altar. We worked together in the overall design. We have all written a paragraph to tell you more. You honor us by visiting our altar. We hope you have enjoyed sharing the stories and memories with us. Understanding cultures and sharing our own is part of what we learned to do in our class.